Hey guys, Mike here from Lunch Money Comics, and boy do we have a lot to talk about today because this is yet another comic book roundup video. This is where I show off all the cool things I've gotten recently in strange and unusual places that I've not yet shown on the channel. But here's the thing, I haven't done one of these videos in a while and I've been very busy this summer. I am literally surrounded by cool stuff I want to show you, so much so I'm probably going to have to cut some of it from the footage. So in the interest of time, let's just jump right into it. If you want to support the channel, head on down, hit that like button, and you can follow me on Instagram under Lunch Money Comics IG. So the first things I want to show you, I got from my good friends Josh and Larry of Magic Geeks. Yeah, they sell on Whatnot, and some of you may recall, a few months back, I did my first sort of collaboration sponsorship with Whatnot by doing an XMen 97 season finale show with them, and it was a smashing success, guys. Not only did we have over 100 people in that show the whole time, we actually beat Rob Liefeld, who was on Whatnot at the same time as us. We're quite proud of that, actually. Yeah, we were giving away comics to Lunch Money Comics viewers. We got carried away. We had such a great time. Now, here's the thing. Josh and Larry are always getting in new collections, and when they find something that they know I'd be interested in, they put it off to the side. So Josh had found a couple things that he knew I would like, and the deal was at some point in time, I would trade for these or buy them from him. So let's go to the Whatnot show night. As we're leading up to it, so many people had sort of bookmarked it. We all started getting nervous. Josh and Larry were nervous. They were going to run out of X-Men books. So Josh said to me last second, hey, these are the books people are asking for. Just bring some, just in reserve. In case we need them, we'll buy them from you or whatever. We just don't want to run out. So that's what I did. And then the show was so busy, of course, we had to dip into those reserves. So much so that when the show ended, Josh said, we're clearly square, right? Here, just take the stuff that I put aside. So I don't really know what I traded for these. I don't remember. It was fast and furious. But I'll tell you this much. It wasn't this. This is not a book I got from Josh. No, this is X-Men number 25. This is famous because this is when Magneto pulls out Wolverine's adamantium. People who watch X-Men 97, you know what I'm talking about. I'm showing this to you because it has to do with the first item that I got. So this is part of the Fatal Attractions storyline. There were 6 issues, one in each of the X-Men titles at the time in 1993. So you had the X-Men title, Uncanny XMen, X-Factor, X-Force, Excalibur, and Wolverine. And all of them had a cool hologram, all different. You see here, it's Gambit. I know you can't really see that. What does this have to do with what I got from them? Well, that reminds me of being a kid in the 90s when I was collecting. Josh knows this, and he found this for me, and he thought of me, and this is awesome, guys. I can't even get it in frame. This is a special X-Men anniversary set from 1993, and as you can see, all 6 of the holograms from that Fatal Attractions is in here. So who we have? We have Havoc, Magneto, Gambit, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Cable. But that's not all. You see down here, there's some signatures. It is signed by Adam Kubert and Harry Candelario. And this was limited to 1,500. This is number 1048. Not only does it come with the holograms, this is still sealed, by the way. It comes with a certificate of authenticity, which unfortunately is covering up this awesome art of the entire X-Men team from the 90s. How cool is this, guys? Come to find out, these are pretty rare. These are hard to come by, and they're worth quite a bit of money. So I don't remember what I traded Josh for this, but whatever it was totally worth it. I cannot wait to hang this up. I've been waiting to make this video just so I can finally hang it up on the wall. But that's not all. The other thing that I got from them is this. So this is an X-Men comic, of course, but it's actually in Greek. I say this all the time, guys. I love the X-Men, but I really love foreign comics. I never owned a comic book in Greek. This is called a Mammoth comic, is what they, I think it's the publisher, Mammoth, and they're from the late 80s and early 90s. This is number 1, and it's a collection of X-Men comics, and it actually starts with X-Men 94. How cool is that? So it's X-Men 94 and 95, the death of Thunderbird. And yeah, it's in Greek. I don't understand anything going on in here. It's all Greek to me. Sorry. But I've never owned a Greek comic before, guys. It's really cool. Hey, we got Luke Cage on the back. I thought it was awesome. Also, this is like a really high quality, like the cardstock. Very neat. Happy to add it to my collection. Thanks, Josh and Larry, for everything, for the collaboration, and thinking of me all the time for stuff like this. Staying on that Whatnot train a little longer, these next books I want to show you, I bought on Whatnot, and I got them from a seller named Zombies R Us, who I actually recognize as being a long-time recurring shopper of Magic Geeks. I see him in their stream all the time buying stuff, and I was on his stream one night, and he was selling a lot of books I was interested in, namely Silver Age Amazing Spider-Man. So I got not only 3 awesome books from him, I got them at a fantastic price. I'll tell you in a second. So first up, we got this. So this is The Amazing Spider-Man number 73. It's from 1969, written by Stan Lee, art by John Romita, and this is sort of a double key issue. It has 2 first appearances in it. The first one is this guy right here, Man Mountain Marco, who's sort of just like a bruiser enforcer of the mob boss, Silvermane, who's the other first appearance in this. Now, Silvermane is a really old guy in charge of his own, mob family who really does not like Spider-Man. Now, why would I want this book? Well, in addition to the fact that I really like Silver Age Spider-Man, I always talk about those Marvel trading cards. I like to get the first appearances of the characters in those cards. Alas, Man Mountain Marco, as far as I know, has never had a Marvel trading card, but Silvermane has. And here is the card. Now, I mentioned he's an old guy. Well, this is like a cyborg. Yeah, that's because at some point in time, Silvermane, because he was old and wanted to live forever, decided to transfer his brain and his head into like a cyborg body. I remember this card from the Marvel Series 3. I've always wanted his first appearance. It says right there, ASM number 73. So I was happy to pick this one up. Absolutely at a great price. Next book is this. This is The Amazing Spider-Man number 53 from 1967. Once again, Lee and Romita. Now, this is a book that I always get whenever I see it. It's not really a key issue, but it's an awesome cover of Spider-Man going against one of his best enemies, Doc Ock. I've owned several copies of this book. I still own several copies of this book, but this one is definitely a better grade than the one I already have. One weird thing I discovered is that it did have a third staple. Didn't really hurt the book at all. But yeah, still really, really cool, guys. Always happy to pick up this great cover. And then the last one is this. This is The Amazing Spider-Man number 45 from 1967. Once again, no surprise, Stan Lee, John Romita. This is actually the third appearance of the Lizard. However, this one's actually in pretty bad shape. In addition to the fact it needs a press really bad, it does have a detached cover. Because of that, I got it super cheap. Now, how much did I get all 3 of these for? For $50. I had to pay for shipping, which was like $4. So that's pretty awesome. Not only that, but Zombies R Us also threw in a couple of freebies for me. He does it for everybody. He threw in a West Coast Avengers number 1, first appearance of the West Coast Avengers, and of course an X-Force number 1. Everyone knows this book. So that's pretty cool, guys. Zombies R Us, definitely highly recommended. Again, check my description if you want to check him out on Whatnot. So now let's go all the way back to Free Comic Book Day. I told you guys, I haven't done one of these in a while. So on that day, I actually went to a comic book show, which I showed on the channel. It was actually a big warehouse sale put on by Gary Dolgoff Comics, a pretty famous comic book seller. And that video actually became kind of infamous. I get asked about it all the time. It was pretty wild. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. But before I went to that, I went to my local comic book stores like everyone else to get free comic books. I was with my son and 2 of my friends, Jeff and Ben. And the first place we went to was my favorite local comic book store, His and Her Comics in Greenfield, Massachusetts. Now, it was a beautiful day. They had all the free comics set up outside. And you guys know, like a lot of these local comic book stores, they sort of have to like ration the free comics. They can't just give everyone everything because they'd run out real quick. So there was a limit on how many you could get. But they love to give to charity, and they had a representative of the local food pantry there. And if you donated food or money to the pantry, you could get some extra free comics. So that's what me and Jack did. We got a ton of comic books. I don't remember which ones I got just at His and Her Comics, guys. I also got some at the next place, but I got a lot. And here's the thing. I am so happy by how many of these are for kids. My son and my daughter absolutely love these books. Half of the books are upstairs somewhere. They've been reading them voraciously. Not only that, but on the same day, Jack added his very first comic book to his very first pull list, which was actually Ultimate X-Men by Peach Momoko. Now, I don't love Peach Momoko or the manga style, but here's the thing, guys. Us older collectors, sometimes we judge things and we forget it's not always for us. My son looked at that cover and he wanted to read that title immediately. It's important that we have stuff that caters to everyone, guys. That's how we get fresh blood in the hobby. So yeah, we got a whole bunch of really cool stuff. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is, I'm not going to show all these to you guys because most of you went to Free Comic Book Day and you have these. But I was surprised to be greeted with 2 packages waiting for me from fans of the channel. So the first one was sort of a soft, bulky package, and when I opened it up, it was this t-shirt right here. Yeah, this awesome Rocketeer t-shirt. Of course, Rocketeer by Dave Stevens. And this is a shirt actually from San Diego Comic-Con 2022. And there was a note in there from a guy named Mark from Thunder Bay, Ontario. He said he had a funny story attached to this. He goes every single year to San Diego Comic-Con and always buys the t-shirts. He got some extra ones, you know, for like family and friends, and ended up with a shirt that was too small for everyone. He asked me what my size was, and it fit me, so he sent it along, guys. So how cool is that? Marks, thank you so much. I love this. He also pointed out that this building right here, it's a cool like Spanish-American building from like the 20s or 30s. It's actually where the original San Diego Comic-Con used to be held, and of course it fits the Rocketeer aesthetic perfectly. So Mark, thank you so much. The other package that I got was from somebody named Jonathan Stone. I got a very nice letter here. And you can see, based on this little sketch, Jonathan is an artist, and he wanted me to check out some of his art. So we put a couple of things in here. He put in this picture right here. You see, he kind of likes sort of like these demon characters. Thought that was pretty cool. And then he also sent me this book, which is sort of a portfolio of his work. This is from Horizon Studios. It's number 0 from 2023. You see it's called The Hell Guard. And yeah, it's basically like a portfolio of this, you know, these cool characters. Not just that Jonathan did, there's actually a whole bunch of art in here of, you know, other people that I think he works with, other artists. So very cool. Jonathan, thank you so much for this. Very cool art. He also sent me, because everyone knows what I like, guys, he also sent me this Uncanny XMen sort of small book. It's black and white art and comic books. It's from 1990. I love these things. So thank you so much once again, Jonathan. I will put a link to Jonathan's work down in my description if you're interested in checking him out. The second place I went to on Free Comic Book Day was Holy Moly Comics in Northampton, Massachusetts. Another store I've been to a million times. They were also having this big sale, you know, 33% off, I think, on everything in the store. Jack actually ended up with, I think, like a cool walking stick. I don't even know how that happened. But I ended up with a comic book. I say, you guys, I collect first appearances of X-Men characters. This is one I did not have. This is New X-Men number 133. It's from 2002, part of the Grant Morrison run. And this is the first appearance of this character right here, Dust. So Dust is a mutant from Afghanistan, and she can turn her body into dust, like particulate matter. Kind of like Sandman, but she doesn't really take form. She's sort of like a wispy cloud. And yeah, she's a pretty cool character, guys. I mean, picture when this is taking place. This is from 2002. We're right in the middle of the War on Terror, and here we have a heroine from Afghanistan. I thought that was pretty cool and progressive, and I think she's actually a pretty neat super heroine for the X-Men. So I like this comic book. It was cool. I got it for $13. I think with the sale, happy to pick it up. So let's go back to His and Her Comics in Greenfield, Massachusetts. Because it's my local comic book store, I'm there all the time, guys, every single week, and I pretty much never leave without something. Well, I was there recently. I was going through like the dollar books, and I noticed some books off to my left I'd never seen before. They looked like underground comics. And when I started looking at them, the owner, Nishan, told me what they were, and they had a really cool tie, not only to the area I live in, but also the college I went to. And it was this. So this is Scat, Volume 2, Number 1, College Edition. You see it's a free comic book, and this one here is from 1979. So this is a series that ran from 1979 to 1981. It was published by Pioneer Valley Graphics Guild in Northampton, Massachusetts. And yeah, what is this? It's a collection of, you know, funnies, of comic books, of strips, all sorts of different things, you know, college humor and like ads and stuff from the people in the Pioneer Valley. For those of you that don't know, the Pioneer Valley out here in Massachusetts is the Connecticut River Valley in sort of central West Massachusetts, where I live. And because this is the college edition, well, this really was catered to all the colleges we have in the area. There's a ton of colleges out here, including my alma mater, the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, you see right there. So this is full of cool references about, you know, the area, but also my college. I'm just going to say this right now, guys. This is way before my time. So it's I was not around when this came out. I'm not that old. But I thought this was really cool. But not only this, you know, there was another one. He had the second issue as well. Very cool, sort of like Halloween themed one, right? So what was so interesting about this, guys, is, you know, some of the people that worked on this book ended up becoming comic book artists in their own right. One of them is a local comic artist named Gary Johnson, who did a little bit of work on Swamp Thing actually in the 80s, and his art is like clearly better than everyone else's when you check it out. But also the editor, or one of the editors of this, was Peter Laird, one of the creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who is also from Western Massachusetts, and actually he did some work in these early publications. How cool is that, guys? So not only does it have a connection to my area and my college, you actually have some real-life bona fide comic artists working this. I think that's super cool, guys, and Nishan gave these to me. These are free. Super happy to add these to my collection. I was going through his 25-cent bins one day, and I saw this book literally sticking up out of the top. It didn't fit a standard comic book box, and it was beat up and ripped and torn, but I still had to have it because it's this. This is Longshot. They're saying number 3 here, but it's actually Longshot number 5. This is a European album size because this is German. Yeah, so this is a German edition of Longshot number 5. I love this series by Ian Nocenti and Art Adams. And yeah, this is like almost destroyed. The cover is pretty much falling off. The inside's great though, guys. I love seeing it in the larger format, seeing Adams' art. This is a cool Magog cover. 25-cent, guys. I couldn't live without it. And actually, when I pulled it out, Nishan's like, I was waiting for you to notice that one. He knew I was going to get it. That's super cool. Next up, yeah. So I was there one day. I looked up on the wall and saw this book. It's a book I already own, but it's a much higher quality. I'm looking for upgrades of a lot of my books, guys, and this is one of them. This is X Factor number 6 from 1986, written by Ron Frenz, Joe Rubenstein cover, and this is the first full appearance of Apocalypse. This is a story written by Louise Simonson, and yeah, guys, I love the character of Apocalypse. Super cool. Everyone knows who he is. Big bad of the X-Men. Great cover, and this is definitely an upgrade to the other one I have. Best part is, Nishan sold this to me for 30 bucks. In this grade, I think it's absolutely worth $30. And you guys know the drill. My old copy, I'll probably trade or sell it to pay for most of the upgrade. Awesome book right there. This next comic book I also already own, but you know, like when you see something that you like and it's at a great price, you pick it up. And it's this. This is the Mighty Thor number 337 from 1983. Story, art, and pencils and cover all done by Walt Simonson, the husband of Louise Simonson, who I just mentioned. And of course, this is the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill, a Corbinite alien with the power of Thor. Awesome comic book, guys. I already own it, but this was priced at $30, and I couldn't say no. Love this book, absolutely. But this last pickup might be my favorite thing of the entire video. It is this. So this is a Marvel Treasury Edition, number 6. All about Doctor Strange. Yeah, there are multiple stories in here, all Doctor Strange, and because of that, it's done by multiple people. We have work in here by Steve Ditko, who created Doctor Strange. We have Herb Trimpe, we have Denny O'Neil, but my favorite part might be Frank Bruner. Frank Bruner not only did some work on the inside of this, he did this amazing cover, which is wraparound. How cool is that? And actually, he did an amazing centerfold in here. Let me find it for you guys. It's worth showing. How cool is that? Yeah, the art in here is trippy and cool. There's lots of cosmic beings, some of Doctor Strange's most notorious villains. We have Nightmare in here. We have Dormammu. We have Shumagrath. It is absolutely awesome, guys. And, you know, I always say this about these big treasury editions, that they kind of make you feel like a little kid because they're a larger format. And I tell you what, I'm going to read this probably on the floor like a little kid, enjoying all the larger panels. This is one of my favorite things I've ever gotten. They had it for $20 at His and Hers, and I didn't even bother talking them down. I just threw a $20 bill at the counter. Funny thing that happened, though, while I was there, my good friend Larry from Magic Geeks was there when I pulled it out. He was like, where did that come from? I want that. Too bad, Larry. I stole it right out of his hand. Just joking. We kind of staged a little clip of me stealing it from him just to get a laugh. Awesome comic book, guys. Totally worth the 20 bucks. I'm super excited to dig into this and read every single part of it. So now let's change it up completely with some non-comic books, although they are certainly comic book related. I say this all the time, guys. Whenever I travel anywhere, I do a quick search of not only local comic book stores in the area, but also local antique shops, flea markets, things like that. Well, I was having a wonderful day with the wife and kids out in far western Massachusetts. I say I live in Western Mass. I actually live more like in central Massachusetts. I was out in the Berkshires. These are the mountains, part of the Appalachian Mountains. I was in the far northwest corner of Massachusetts in the town of North Adams. Yeah, we were doing lots of things with the kids in the area. It was a fun day. We decided to check out downtown, and I found sort of like an antique emporium. It was like an indoor flea market, but in addition to all the antiques, they had tons of vintage toys and, yes, comic books. They had a ton of comic books. Unfortunately, there was nothing in there really worth taking home, certainly not for the price they were asking, but the vintage toys were awesome, especially the ones from the 90s, and I found a toy that I could not live without, and it is this. This is an X-Men toy from 1994, and you see it is Phoenix. Now, I collect these X-Men toys from the 90s because I had them as a kid. You guys can't see it, but above all my comic books on this wall here, I have all the X-Men figures up top. Not only did I not have this figure already, I've never even seen it before. I didn't even know it existed. How cool is she? Her hair is like translucent, like it's on fire. This is awesome. I can't remember what I paid for it. It must have been like $14 or so. That's totally fine, guys. You know, it just goes to show you can find comics and comic-related things absolutely anywhere. I did not know when I left that day I'd end up with this toy, but I'm pretty happy to pick this one up. The other thing I got at a flea market. However, I wasn't shopping. I was actually selling. A couple of times this summer, I've actually sold antiques, but a little bit of comic books at the Rieta Flea Market in Hubbardston, Massachusetts. Mostly cheap stuff, you know, dollar books, things I have duplicates of. I need to make room. I have a lot of stuff down here. But one of those days, a gentleman came up to me. He actually recognized me from the channel, started pulling out some comic books. And I think he pulled out a whole bunch of DC books from the 70s. And he said, hey, would you like to trade? I said, it depends what you want to trade. And he showed me this box. And what was in it? Well, I mentioned how much I like those Marvel trading cards all the time. In that box was an original first series tin of Marvel Masterpieces. The very first set by Joe Jusko. Not only do you have the collector's tin, not only do you have the entire set, but you also have all of the insert cards, all of the special, you know, chase cards in a special subset called like the Women of Marvel. You have characters like, you know, Psylocke and Scarlet Witch and Jubilee that aren't in the main set. Now, I have several copies of this set already, but I don't own all of the insert cards, and I definitely don't own all of these women cards here. I absolutely wanted this, guys. You know, they're mint. They're still in this tin. And I was like, I will absolutely do that trade in a heartbeat. So that's pretty cool. Here's the thing. Here's my dilemma. I like to put these cards in a 3-ring binder so I can see them. And because I don't have all the hologram cards and stuff, I kind of want to put these in a binder. But I also don't want to break up the set. You know, they're mint condition. I like them in the tin. Let me know down in the comments what you would do. Would you present these so you can see them, or would you leave them in the collector's tin? I'm really torn. I can't decide. But how cool is that, guys? Super happy to have traded for this. Very cool addition to the collection. This next book I actually talked about on my channel relatively recently because I got this. So this is The Last Ronin issue 1. This is the director's cut. And this is a series from 2020, which is a hypothetical what happens to the Ninja Turtles in the future. Basically, it's based off a storyline that Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman, the creators of the Ninja Turtles, came up with in the 80s as sort of like a what-if scenario. How does this all end? And in this story, you know, all the Ninja Turtles have died except for one, and he is the last Ronin. Well, it took 20 years or so, but finally in 2020, they got together with Tom Waltz and some fantastic artists to make a 5-part series. It was very highly acclaimed. Yeah, and I talked about this series, and I read this whole book. The problem is, this is only the first issue. It kind of ends on a cliffhanger, and when I talked about this in that video, I said I wanted to read the rest. Well, a buddy of mine and fellow comic book YouTuber, Alex the Comic Hoarder, reached out to me privately, and he said, do you know Target actually has the hardcover of the entire story right now? So the very next day, I went to my local Target, and sure enough, they had this. Guys, this is a beautiful hardcover entire 5-issue story. It's awesome. It also has like extra art in, in the back and posters and stuff. And it's awesome, guys. I read this pretty much immediately. Over the course of the next 2 days, I devoured it. And listen, I've said this before, I'm a self-professed, not a huge Ninja Turtles fan, but I've become more so lately. I love the local connection. I've met a lot of the guys that worked on the Ninja Turtles, and I've been reading the old stuff, and I love it. And this is like the old school Ninja Turtles from the 80s, guys, because it is Laird and Eastman. It was awesome. I love how the art style changes when there's flashbacks. It actually looks like the original 80s art. It is absolutely awesome, guys. And here's the kicker. This is a beautiful book. Retails for $30. There was a sale at Target. This rung up at $16. So I got this for almost half price. That is a killer deal for this beautiful book that I'll keep in my collection forever. So if you're interested in reading it, absolutely, guys, go to your local Target. They probably still have them. Absolutely. Let me know down in the comments if any of you have read the series and if you liked it as much as I did. So we finally come to the last 3 items of this show, and I got them all from a brand new local comic book store and toy store that I've mentioned on my channel several times very recently. It is Has Been Collectible Toys and Comics in Wilbraham, Massachusetts, owned by an awesome guy named Rick. I did a couple videos on this amazing store where I was shocked by how good the prices were. And here's the thing, guys. A lot of stuff has happened since those videos came out. A lot of people have discovered Rick, and he sold a lot of those comics. Like I said, he had priced them pretty reasonably. And because of that, he's always looking for new stuff. Not just, toys, but comic books. So real quick, by the way, if you are in the area of Western Massachusetts, Has Been Collectible Toys and Comics is always looking for stuff. Head in. He loves to trade and buy stuff. So I've been over there a lot. I've become pretty good friends with Rick. Whenever he gets in new collections, I go over there and help him price things out. It's just my way of helping him out. But I do get comic books from him from time to time. A lot of times I trade for them. But I do have some books here I definitely want to show you. Starting with this. This is a Gumby comic. This is Gumby's Summer Fun Special, published by Comico in 1987. Why did I get this? It's not because I'm a big Gumby fan, guys. It's because this amazing comic book was done by the awesome Arthur Adams, who I love very much. And it's fun. There's all sorts of goofy things in here, guys. Really cool, like little pencil sketches he did. Yeah, it's just really, really neat. I've almost bought it in the past. Rick sold this to me for $5. Yeah, it's got some damage, on the cover. That's all right. I'm going to meet Arthur Adams, hopefully again, at Terrificon this summer. Maybe I'll have him sign it. I don't know. Seems like a fun comic book. Totally worth $5. This next book I actually got today. I got it the day I'm filming this. Couldn't live without it. It's this. This is Daredevil number 100. It's a milestone issue from 1973, written by Steve Gerber, pencils by Gene Colan, art by Rich Buckler. And there's a minor first appearance in here, guys. It doesn't really matter. I got this because of the amazing cover. I'm a huge Daredevil fan, and you see in this milestone issue, it's very similar actually to the amazing SpiderMan milestone 100, where you have our hero in the foreground, and then you have all of the faces of his enemies and loved ones in the background. Also kind of reminds me of that Neil Adams Dead Man cover that's so famous. I had to have it, guys. I think he had $15 on it, and because he's always looking for stuff, I told him I would trade him $15 next time I bring my trade stuff by, so in the meantime, I had to pick it up. But it's this last book that is definitely the most interesting, and honestly, I almost didn't show it on the channel, quite simply because I don't exactly know what I'm going to do with it. It's actually not even a book I really thought I would have in my collection, but I actually got it for two reasons. So here's the deal. So ever since I first met Rick, I saw this book in his store. It was up like on a top shelf, and even after he kind of got cleaned out, this book remained. So when I was over there recently, he pulled it down and he said, I think this might be priced too high. He had it priced at $300. He said, how much is it actually worth? And I looked at it and I said, I have no idea. And when I show it to you, you will see why. Yes, this is Amazing Spider-Man number 300 from 1988. And of course, this is the first full appearance of Eddie Brock and Venom, done by Todd McFarlane. But you see here, it's a CGC 8.0 purple label. That is because it is restored. It says right here, small amount of color touch on cover. So when Rick brought it down, I wanted to see if I could spot that restoration. And yes, I could. Because somebody filled in all the color breaks on the spine with a black ballpoint pen. And I could spot it from a mile away because you guys know when someone uses a pen or a marker, it kind of has that like metallic kind of oil slick sheen. You can see it on every tick. But making matters worse, they didn't do it on the back cover. So you can see all those ticks, and as they wrap around, they disappear. Really obvious restoration, very easy for CGC to catch. Now, here's the thing. If this was not a purple label, I think it was worth probably like $450, somewhere around there. That's easy to look up, right? But I don't know how to price a purple restored label. So I did two things. First, I contacted my friend Jeff at Comic Spa because I wanted to see if he could restore it and remove the color touch. Break it open and remove it. So I sent him some pictures up close and he responded back, no way. Evidently, when you have like inks like that, the only way to remove them is to use some sort of like solvent, which will often damage the book. Also, this book isn't worth enough to try to do that. So the second thing I did was I asked some of my friends online, and sort of the rule of thumb, a lot of them came back to me was they do half of whatever the blue label equivalent would be. So whatever a blue 8.0 would be, have that. That's what a purple label should be. That kind of made sense to me. So I was telling Rick maybe like, $200. But then I sort of offhandedly mentioned to him, I don't even have an ASM 300. That's true, guys. I have never owned this book because, honestly, I don't love the cover. Although I'm okay and I kind of like Venom, I used to make fun of this cover as a kid. I just don't like the 300s. I don't know. I think it's a little overrated. Although Spider-Man looks pretty cool by Todd McFarlane. Yeah, I never kind of got around to getting this book. When I mentioned to Rick I don't have it, he's like, well, do you want it? And I thought for a second, and I'm like, well, not really. I don't really want a purple label. But then I kind of thought a little bit more, and I was like, you know what? One, I've never owned a restored book. As silly as it sounds, it's kind of a neat thing to show off. And two, I like the idea of having this be an educational tool or a prop. I can look at this or show someone this and say, this is what color touch on a spine looks like with pen. I thought that was kind of cool, so it definitely intrigued me. I'm like, well, Rick, what do you want me to do? He's like, well, when you figure out how much it's worth, give me a whole bunch of trade value. So I already gave him the trade value, guys. I gave him over $200 worth. I gave him about $225. Like I said, he's sort of desperate to get more comic books in, and I've been trading a lot of stuff to him, so I got a whole bunch of stuff I knew he could sell. I was looking at the stuff that was selling off his shelves and kind of replacing it. So I've been trying to help him out, right? So that was good. He got that stuff, and I got this book. So here's the thing, guys. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it. There's still the chance, Jeff could come up with a miracle way to fix this book. I could just break it open just to have it raw. By the way, if I ever did that, guys, if you ever break out a restored copy of a book, of course, you have to disclose that it was restored. Of course you do. If you ever move on from that book, what you do is you take the label and you throw it in the poly bag so everyone knows, of course, just gonna say that right outright. But still, maybe I open it up and just have it without the stigma of the purple label, but I kind of like it, to be honest. But the other reason I got it was I really want to appeal to all of you. Listen, there's a lot of institutional knowledge out there that know about a lot of things comic related that I don't. I'm not a huge CGC slab guy, so I'm asking some of you, how much do you think this is worth? How would you price this out? I couldn't find a lot of proxies online for an 8.0 purple label. It is very slight, but I'd love to know how you price this out. Would you, any of you like to have this in your collection? Is this something that the stigma is so high that you wouldn't want it at all? I mean, honestly, although I don't love this cover, it's still cool to say I own it, honestly. So I would just love if you guys would tell me what you think this is worth. Make sure I'm not shortchanging Rick with, $225-ish of trade. I think that's fine, right? I think it's pretty cool. And it does look kind of cool when I put it on the shelf back there. So definitely let me know down in the comments what you think this is worth. Let me know if you'd like to have something like this in your collection. Whew, we made it. That was an awful lot to talk about. Head on down to the comments and let me know which of my pickups you like the best. There's too much stuff for me to hold up right now, so I'll show you a clip of everything, just to remind you of what was in there. Let me know which one you like the best. Anything that you would like to add to your collection. Do you like how I got these comics, whether I paid for them or traded for them? I'd love to hear from all of you. And in the meantime, guys, keep hunting for comic books in strange and unusual places. As this video is evidence, you can find comics and comic-related things pretty much anywhere. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.